left foot.
Another day.
Dabba D, nigga.
I take your pain away. Some people talk about you like they know all about you. When you get down, they doubt you. And when you tip it on the scene, yeah, they talking about it. Cause they can't tip on the scene. What you talk about it, talking about it. When you get elevated, they love it or they hate it. You dance up on them haters. Keep getting funky on the scene while they jumping around you. They trying to take all of your dreams, but you can't allow it. Cause baby, whether you're high or low, or whether you're high or low, you got to tip on the tightrope. Tip on the tightrope. Baby, baby, whether you're high or low, baby, whether you're high or low, you got to tip on the tightrope. Now let me see you do the tightrope. And I'm still tipping on it. See, I'm not walking on it or trying to run around it. This ain't no acrobatics. You either follow or you lead. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Or keep on blaming the machine. Yeah, I'm talking about it. Talking about it. I can't complain about it. I gotta keep my balance and just keep dancing on it. We getting funky on the scene and you know about it. Like a star on the screen. Watch me tip all on it. Now, baby, whether I'm high or low, baby, whether you're high or low, you got to tip on the tightrope. Yeah, tip on the tightrope. Baby, baby, whether you're high or low, baby, whether you're high or low, tip on the tightrope. Baby, let me see your tightrope. And I'm still tipping on it.
You gotta keep your balance or you fall into the gap. It's a challenge, but I manage cause I'm cautious with the strap. Do damage to your cabbage that a doctor cannot pass. See why you don't want no friction like the back of a matchbook. That if SS will fold you and your MacBook. Close shows shut you down before we go backwards. Act up and whether we high or low, we gonna get back up like the Dow Jones or NASDAQ. Sort of like a thong in your hand crack. Come on.
I tip on alligators and little rattlesnakers, but I'm another flavor, something like a Terminator. Ain't no equivocating. I fight for what I believe. Why you talking about it? Just talking about it. Some calling me a sinner, some calling me a winner. I'm calling you to dinner, and you know exactly what I mean. Yeah, I'm talking about you. You can rock or you can leave. Watch me tip without you. No, no, no. Whether I'm high or low, whether I'm high or low, I gotta tip on the tightrope. Baby, baby, whether I'm high or low, I got to tip on the tightrope. Now, baby, tip on the tightrope. You can't get too high. I said you can't get too low. Cause you get too high. No, you surely be low. 1, 2, 3, help. Yeah. Yeah. Girl, this is crazy. Let me tell you. I can't believe all of the things they say about me. Walk in the room, they throwing shade left to right. They be like, ooh, she's serving face. And I just tell them, cut me up and get down. They call us dirty cause we break all your rules down. And we just came to act a fool, is that alright? Girl, that's alright. They be like, ooh, let them eat cake. But we eat wangs and throw them bones on the ground. Am I a freak? Am I more than a freak? Sit round, quit. Am I a freak? Don't forget to sit down. I cut teeth up, don't cut me down. And yeah, I wanna be. Is it peculiar that she twerk in the mirror? And am I weird to dance alone late at night? And is it true we're all insane? If I just tell them no, we ain't and get down. I heard this life is just a play with no rehearsal. I wonder, will this be my final act tonight? And tell me, what's the price of fame? Am I a sinner with my skirt on the ground? Am
Woman of Color in Sci-Fi Television panel. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is a short imagination exercise with everybody. So can everyone please close their eyes? And I want you to imagine yourself between the ages of about 5 to maybe 10. Look down and imagine like the clothes that you were wearing, the clothes that you would play in and adventure in. Now imagine yourself running. Running to your most favorite place in the world, the place where you feel most free. Once you get there, I want you to stop, look around, and see a world that is just waiting for you. Open your eyes. So I have a few questions, and you just answer this by raising your hand. Who here went to some place that was real? Someplace that you know? Hands up. Who went to some place that was imaginary? Here's the kicker. Who went someplace that you've been before, whether it's in your mind or physically? A lot of people are exactly that. When it comes to the stories that we create for ourselves, we become our own protagonists, we become our own adventurers. And I think that's so important when it comes to this particular genre. And so I want to highlight a story which I think really exemplifies that importance. This is Grace. Grace is an amazing character. She has adventures in her backyard. She sees herself as the hero, the villain, all of those things. And I think we all feel that way often too. And that, we see ourselves in our stories until sometimes we go to school. And we see that conflict. Someone tells you that you can't. And in this story, Grace is raising her hand up because the teacher is planning to do a presentation of Peter Pan, and she raises her hand up because she knows she can do it. The little girl beside her says, "You can't be Peter Pan. Peter Pan's not black." The little boy next to her says, "You can't be Peter Pan. Peter Pan's not a woman." And Grace, in her defiance, holds her hand up anyway. I feel like that's the thing that a lot of us do. In 1998, there was an educator who talked about in curriculum, you essentially have what she called windows and mirrors. So when you are reading a piece of work that does not necessarily reflect your experience, it's like peeking into a window of someone else's world. And it's really important to see things that are windows, but it's equally as important to see things that are mirrors, that reflect your experience back at you, so you can possibly understand and get a better idea of what's going on in your own reality. And in the world of curricula, many of the characters are often white or white men. And so you end up with a lot of people, end up with a lot of mirrors, and a lot of other people who almost feel invisible because you can't see. Now, what's really incredible about looking into a window is that you can see a bit of reflection. It's not that you can't connect at all. But sometimes it would be nice for you to really see yourself immediately instead of trying to navigate someone else's through someone else's eyes. And in the world of science fiction, it is the most intricate, concave, diverse mirror you could ever imagine. And you would think that in a world that has fairy tale creatures and unicorns and orcs and magic spells, that people of diverse cultures and colors would be commonplace. But we know that's not the case. But we do continue working on it and building our own worlds and building our own creativity. And so, while this is specifically talking about children's books in 2015, I think it's a pretty fair depiction of lots of media. We see all these children are looking into mirrors. How many of works that they see actually reflect their experiences? And then you see the little white boy at the end. He has so many options. If you look around, he can be a king, he can be an astronaut, he can be a boy with a dog. All of these things are options. But as you get smaller and smaller, you see less and less and less. So, what is this panel about? This panel is focusing on showing love. Showing love to the desires and the strengths of people from so many different backgrounds, and specifically the women who have inspired us on the small screens. So I want to honor your wish to be a pirate. I want to honor your wish to be, empathetic and kind, as well as our wishes to be, warriors, to be a fairy tale princess, to be someone who's fighting for the liberation of her people, or to be a scientist, or to be a mother. That diversity of experience is what this is all about. So, you all probably know this person already. And I've told the story 100 million times, and you've probably heard it 100 million times, so this is going to be 100 million in two. So, Nichelle Nichols, we all know that she was on Star Trek. But what you might not know is that she actually did have the first lead role of a black woman in drama, period. Just in general. And this is in 1966, I believe. One thing that was interesting is that she was going to quit after the first season. Because she was like, no one sees it, I don't know if this is important, and she is a classically trained singer and actress. So she was like, I want to be on Broadway. She told that to Gene Roddenberry. He was like, can you just take a moment? Think about it. She was like, okay, I'll think about it. She goes to a fundraiser for the NAACP, and someone tells her, oh, your biggest fan wants to meet you. She's like, okay, sure. Her biggest fan just so happens to be Dr. Martin Luther King. And he tells her, and he's like, I love it, this is a show I let my children watch. And she's like, oh, that's great, but I'm leaving. And he tells her, you can't leave. She's like, what? She's like, don't you know what you were doing for little black girls out there? You were one of the first people to be in a non-stereotypical role. So she stayed on, and one of those young girls that she inspired was a girl named Karen Johnson. Karen Johnson lived in a housing project in Manhattan, and when she saw Nichelle Nichols, she ran to her mother and said, hey mom, there's a black woman on TV and she ain't no maid. This was a revelation. And it inspired Karen to move into media and film and embrace her own artistic gifts. And so Karen, better known as Whoopi Goldberg, eventually, got on Star Trek as Guinan. Now, this was in the 80s when, Whoopi's star was just rising. And so they were like, why do you want to be on this stupid rinky-dink sci-fi show? And she says, you don't understand. I am a Star Trek fan. I was a Star Trek fan long before I was ever Whoopi Goldberg. And to even extend Nichelle Nichols' influence, Mae Jemison, who was the first black woman in space, cites Nichelle Nichols as one of her inspirations. And she's also one of the few people who has a picture of herself in the International Space Station, and on the Enterprise, because she's awesome like that. This is Gull Fisher. Now, Gull Fisher is interesting. The show that she was in called Mannix is really a detective show, so it's not really in the sci-fi genre. However, I came upon her in my research because she is only the second black woman to be in a dramatic role. And she won the award for Best Supporting Actress. She's the first person to win the Best Supporting Actress, first black woman. And she said, I hope that people can see my character and learn from her. Learn about the real experiences of various black people. Now, she got her award, I want to say in the late 60s. A black woman would not get an award for Best Lead Actress until Viola Davis. And when Viola Davis said in her acceptance speech, we can't win awards for roles that don't exist. And so by the time that Gail Fisher unfortunately passed away in 2000, her story was left to be forgotten. But I would like to take this minute to honor her. So when I say her name, Gail Fisher, I want you guys to repeat back, we honor your story. Okay? Gail Fisher.
We honor your story.
Thank you. And now something totally different. I want Taurus. You love to That's what all this panel was about, because I mean, like, and sometimes she's been the only person of color in her shows, and she's carried that, and so I just full respect for her, everything she goes, and I mean, my money be popping. I mean, like 20 years. I added this one. Really? Kristen, you might not know, is actually half Chinese on her mother's side. And what I find interesting is in at least two of her roles, after Smallville, in the ill-fated Chun-Li movie, and in Beauty and the Beast, she actually does play someone who is of mixed race. And so I would like to think that some of the representation she was allowed to have just encouraged her. And there are some people you may have seen on the scroll that I had earlier who may not necessarily present as people of color, but are people who are multi-ethnic. And I think it's important to honor their stories as well. And so you want to know how Grace's story ended? Grace, if you remember, after she went to her mom and was like, they told me I couldn't be Peter Pan. Her grandmother took her to a show where she showed her this new Juliet, this ballerina, this black ballerina on stage. And it was so inspiring that Grace danced her way home, believing that she could do anything. And of course, she kicked ass at Peter Pan. And now on to my illustrious panelists. I just want to give you guys a frame, so there we go. So down the line, we have Nanika Wright. Nanika is a model, actress, contributor to Quirktastic, and a Power Ranger. How many battles do you have again? 3. Exactly. So, like, a nerd who can kick your butt. I love her so much.
I'm very nice.
Represented, we have Samara Chahidi.
The only ever brown person on any panel ever.
That's okay. She's my best friend. So Samara, she's my best friend, but on top of that, she is also a published chemistry researcher, chemistry teacher, is currently getting her doctorate. And it's just one of the most intelligent people I know, so that's Samara. We have Halima who runs her own media empire. All things geek, fashion, and you were recently on the runway?
I was blessed to be in New York Fashion Week for the second year in a row.
Right next to we have the lovely Sabrina Thompson. Sabrina, who was a NASA engineer. And you know those black women in space that I was talking about? What's your operation, Sabrina?
I'll have to be action at.
And right next to her, you have the lovely Zena.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, Zena is an amazing artist, and I know you do like more artistic work kind of on the like kind of governmental side, right?
I make government websites for important social services, less shady.
I'm Eva Brown. I'm a contributor with Black Girl Nerds, and we cover Black Girl Nerds.
I'm Nicole Homer. I'm also a professor at a community college, so like that's what's up. I'm a poet and I am an editor at Black Nerd Problems, and we look at all pop culture through a POC lens.
My name is Naisha. I don't have a YouTube channel. I do have a Facebook page, Late Night Cosplay. Yeah. And clearly, obviously, I love cosplaying at cons. That is like my thing. I do it all the time.
I'm Allegraana. I am a Chinese, Jamaican, Puerto Rican mix. So, Gina Torres is like one of my idols because, she is a beautiful black woman. She's a beautiful Latinx woman. And she also shares my last name. Could we be related? I don't know. I'm going to bank on this fact should we ever meet each other. But I am a costumer and artist and very, very excited to be on this panel again.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonah. I'm an actress and producer. I'm Filipino American, and Letitia and I actually did a film earlier this year, and that's how I met her through. So I'm super excited to be here.
She's an awesome producer. That's
Thank you.
So my first question to you all is, what, if any, women of color in various sci-fi properties, whether it's animated or in real life, inspired you, or do you really remember growing up? I'm going straight down the line, or whoever answers first.
So, how does this work? Yeah, it's all right. Hello, everybody. This is going to sound really weird because I was very young when this happened, but when Gina Torres popped up as Cleopatra and Xena, I was done. I was like, that's it. That's what I'm going to be. I want to be sexy and powerful like that, and then it was over for me. And now I act and I get to play that character on occasion, and I'm very thankful for that.
So for me, it was Whoopi Goldberg. The first sci-fi show I ever watched was Star Trek. So, Whoopi Goldberg, and all I wanted to do was be that smart and look that flat.
Gotta say the same, Whoopi Goldberg. She actually inspired my passion for fashion. I was living in Southern Africa at the time, and she had this beautiful, just her headdresses, just her confidence, her dispensing of libations, her confidence, the way that she stood up to everyone, including Kate. Nobody could touch her, and I just loved it.
Okay, so unlike everyone on the panel, I didn't grow up watching sci-fi, even though I work at NASA now. I started watching sci-fi once I started working at NASA, and people would walk around the hallways, saying the answer was 42, and I'm like, so here, just read this book, watch this movie, do this. So I didn't really get into it until maybe a couple of years ago.
I have to say the first sci-fi character that really resonated with me, I was probably 5 years old and watching the Magic School Bus. Astounded that there was an Asian character in the cast, and I don't actually remember that much about her, but just, representation matters and all that. And the second thing I'll say is, similar to Sabrina, I was only really allowed to watch public television growing up, so I didn't watch that much sci-fi, but I read a lot of books, and Olivia Butler was probably the first author I read where I realized you can write science fiction, it doesn't have to be focused on technology. You can write about how you're a person in the world.
Okay, so mine's a twofer because I couldn't narrow it down. I was like, chronologically, I don't know which of these ladies appeared first in my life, but my parents are big Star Trek fans. So Star Trek was kind of like an omnipresent force in our house. In particular, I remember B'Elanna Torres, who was on your slideshow, and she really, it was her last name, Torres, the same last name as mine, which, I went to a private school. I was the only Torres in my grade, and it was difficult being a brown kid in a private school and a nerd on top of that, and I was not super into my last name, to be honest. But B'Elanna was so cool, and my dad would joke. He'd be like, "She's a Taurus. She's related to us." And I was like, "Yeah." And then the other one would be Brandy as Cinderella, because I was super into fantasy. I love fantasy. I like fairy tales, and I'm sure you guys are all aware. Like a lot of the stuff that has been available traditionally has been very Eurocentric. The fantasies all take place in some sort of, this is basically Europe, and we're all using European names and swords. And if they're brown people, they are very exotic and other, and we don't really interact with them. But like Brandy in this beautiful fantasy world with her crazy family that didn't really make a lot of sense, and her handsome Prince Charming and beautiful dresses, and like it was the first time that I was like, I felt like I could be in a fairy tale too. And so that really, and of course all the music was great, the costumes were great, and I was so into it. And there's Whoopi Goldberg, of course. And so those two instances I distinctly recall, like for the first time being like, hey, that could be me. I could be like this person. And it was really cool. It was really meaningful in a way that I didn't really process until just now when you asked me that question. and realizing like how much that meant to me to have that. Like it wasn't much, but it mattered so much to me.
So you stole both mine.
Okay.
But so my household was pretty much the same. Like my dad was the big sci-fi buff in my family, and his show was Star Trek. So probably the first one I saw was Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan, and I loved everything about her. The way she dressed, the way she was, that she kept a blaster behind the thing. It was like she tried to take the hats, the church hats. Oh my goodness, like that's what they remind me of, church hats. But I love that she like always had that air of like she knows this last little tidbit that nobody else knows. She knows and she could tell you, but she won't because you need to find out for yourself. So that was her. And then Balana also because I identified with her a lot because she's kind of seen as like the hothead on the show, and always as a little girl I always got told, you got an attitude, you need to tone that attitude down. I'm not toning it down. She didn't have to tone it down. Why do I have to tone it down? I'm going to tone it up if you keep telling me to tone it down. And in some cases I did, and it got me in trouble. Kind of like she did. But yeah, so those are my two.
Laura, I mean, that's the biggest one. But like to step outside of that, since you kind of talked about her, Samus was so real for me as a kid. That she was the first girl that I saw, but also in a lot of the ways her girlness was hidden, and that's the only reason she was acceptable, which I think is a thing that is duplicated when we're talking about characters of color. They're coded not as people of color, so that they can be acceptable.
It was probably a horror for me as well, but also, I guess, the first Battlestar Galactica, they had these 2 episodes where they had all these women who got to be Viper pilots, and so Sheila Willis was one of those, and so she was the first black, fighter, that I saw on Battlestar Galactica, so Sheila Willis was so cool.
Awesome. I would say Whoopi Goldberg for me too. I remember watching Star Trek with my grandfather and just being like, oh my gosh, she is so smart, she's so cool. And just like, I would like I enjoyed everyone, but I would be like waiting for like the one scene with Guinan that happened every 5 episodes. But I would be waiting for it. I wanted it to happen.
Often in the sci-fi television genre, you have a woman of color who is like the one in the group. And so what do you think are the consequences, positive or negative, with that characterization?
I think one of the problems with that, and I guess let me do the pro first. The pro is that you do get that representation. You do get to see this person, hopefully represented in a good way. But like usually, if they're part of the team, like it's a positive role model for people. But the flip side of that is that when they're just like the one, I feel like they're kind of divorced from like their culture. Like it's more difficult for that to be expressed. Like for a really, really obvious comparison, Black Panther, like the culture of Wakanda is very evident, very vivid, very beautifully depicted. But when you have just one person, when it was just Black Panther by himself, that didn't come through as much. Like you knew that he was from somewhere, but you didn't really see him like living his culture, expressing it, having that familiarity, the traditions, everything that comes with that. You can't see that when they're just by themselves. And so you kind of lose some of that nuance when the character doesn't have anyone else to play off of.
Well, I'll start with a pro as well. I think when like that character gets to be a representative for their culture, it's really good if they're a good representative because they get to like check other characters when they like start to step out of line. You know, like, hey, wait, you need, chill, cut that out. But I think it can be bad if they're like home to all the negative stereotypes of a character. Like Letitia, you and I were talking earlier about Cindy from Dark Angel. I'm sorry, I hated her character. I could not stand her because they like made it seem like it was okay if you're a womanizer. If you're a woman, it's okay. And I'm like, no. So I'm like, please, I just want to like refuse that she ever existed. And it sucked because she was like not the only one, but like she was the one that kind of looked the most like me on that show. And I'm like, why, please, just no. So yeah, like if they're just home to all the negative or what I perceive as negative stereotypes, then it's just such a disappointment to see that.
Well, for me, it's I'll also start with the pros. I mean, it's great to be able to see yourself or identify with yourself on camera or in media or any type of situation. You're always looking to say, it's great. But the negatives would be then that person has to be everything to everyone. And everyone is diverse. We are diverse people. We have diverse experiences. They're clumsy people. They're reserved people. They're crazy people. And you want to see that experience reflected. And so when you have that one person, they're either always overly noble, never step wrong, and they're the one that always, oh my God, they're so amazing. Or they are just the negative stereotype, they're absent from home, they're pushing drugs, there's no diversity in the experience. So when that person is the one, it's either you get one perspective or they're not allowed to have agency or do different things, so yeah.
I thought of another con real quick.
Okay.
The other con would be if you have your team of people and there's the one brown girl. When you have a group of cosplayers and then they come to you and they're like, hey, you're brown, you want to be that one, right? You're like,
I get told to be Storm one more time. I love her, but
I love the character, but maybe you identify more with a different one. And it's
or you have that one character who's just there just to look like it's diverse, and all they say once in a while is, it's over there. I will go get it. And then you never see them again.
I'm sorry, that just reminded me of that line from Nana, the teen movie.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just here to say that's whack.
That's right.
damn.
I think that the characters tend to get flattened. So if there's only one black woman on the show or one woman of color, even if she is a three-dimensional character, we tend to latch onto the one dimension of her that we identify with the most, and she doesn't get a chance to be well-rounded. So when I'm talking about Zoe, I will talk about how much she's a badass, because that's what I needed her to be when I saw her. But we don't talk about how she's well, we do, but I mean, I didn't focus on it, how she's a badass, but also she wants this family. And she's multidimensional, so not only the pressure to be one thing, but we tend to, if there's only one person of color, we reduce them to one thing. And it's the one thing that we need.
Is it us, or is it that the directors made them into what they think an acceptable person of color is?
I think that it's both, because I think Auntie Entity is a city manager, but that's not what I think of when I think about her.
Right.
Niobe is the best pilot in the Matrix universe, but that's not what I think about when I think about her. Mm-hmm. And it's not that that's not in the source material, and it's not that that's not presented, but that's not what I need her to be. And if there were a lot of women, then I wouldn't need her to be the one thing. And to go to your idea about female friendships, so disclaimer, I kind of am over The Walking Dead. Even though I will be hate watching it tonight. And join me in my hate watch this evening. But the most interesting thing for me was when we had Michonne, Sasha, and Rosita wandering through a forest trying to rescue Sasha, who was clearly suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, and nobody else cares about her. But it's these three women of color taking care of each other, and for me, this is the most compelling part of the show, because then Sasha gets to be hurt as opposed to having to be strong as she's had to be in the past, because there is more than one woman of color, so she can do those things. So I think it's both.
I think that's one of the reasons I really like Black Lightning right now. Is I like the fact that you have the mother neurosurgeon, you have the daughter pre-med, and then you have the scholar athlete that just doesn't sort of know where she's going. And it's sort of an opportunity for you to find yourself in the Pierce family. You know, if you
And
really
they're
want
allowed
to.
to make mistakes and
Right.
try and figure out who they are. They're not that perfect model minority for Black people.
Right, you're right, yeah.
And they're trying to figure themselves out.
And it's okay to not be the perfect minority. You're not the token, and you're also not the Martin Luther King of your office either.
So what was the original question?
The question is essentially about kind of like being that one minority, that one representation, and how that, at least in media, how it affects the characterization, and how that affects maybe the way the audience will react to that person.
So, I mean, you can take this and generalize it, right? And take it out of the media context. When you're in a position where you are the only one, like, you are like the trailblazer, right? So you can take that, and depending on your perspective, like, that could be something that empowers you and uplifts you and make you feel as though, like, okay, this is a heavy weight to carry on my shoulders, but if I don't do it, who else is going to do it? And so you can take it, you can look at it the way the ladies already presented, but on the flip side, there's an empowering piece to it where you kind of feel a level of importance, and it's beyond you. You're doing something for us, on a larger scale.
In comic book media specifically, there have been a lot of quote unquote race bent characters, whether it's the casting of Iris Rest in Flash, or Rue being the actual color she is in the books.
We're not get into that. Right.
We're not going to talk about that.
But anyway, so that, the change in the ethnicity of various characters has helped open doors for actors and actresses of color. But the change has often been accompanied with backlash, insults, just a lot of negativity. So what do you think are the advantages of changing kind of the casting of existing properties, and what do you think has been kind of the effect of that backlash? Like, has there been an effect?
I'm going to try really hard not to talk a lot about this, because I know these ladies are super smart, and I'm going to let them talk. The main problem I have is when people look at the actress cast and they go, oh, well, now the movie sucks. You don't know about the movie? Yeah. You didn't make that casting choice. You didn't see the script. What's changing about this story based on the race of this character whose race did not matter in the first place? That's what I need to know. So when people are like, I'm not racist, I just don't like the actress, why? That's what I need to know. Why? How's the story changing based on that actress? Why? So I fully think that while people can dislike the movie of The Little Mermaid, you cannot suddenly say it's ruined based on the color of an actress for the character of the mermaid whose race didn't matter in the first place. Done.
Yeah, actually, coming from like a producer side, I always, like when I hear that backlash, I'm like, I don't understand, because this is what people want to see. Like, this makes money. Yes. I don't understand why there's so much backlash with it when everyone today they're talking about these issues. And that's what people want to see. But the actress, I'm sure, I don't know her, but I'm sure she feels a lot of pressure coming, seeing and hearing all these negative comments. I feel like she has a lot of pressure to do well in the movie. When really, just like you said, like, you don't know, you can't just base off of the color of your skin right before the movie's even made. You know what I mean? It was just, it's crazy. And I also, I wrote down notes. So these characters were made based off animated drawings, but it shows us by putting people of color that, we can play these people. Yes. like there's hope for us, and like there's possibilities for us to be the Ariel, or I could be Cinderella. Oh, Brandy. I'm sorry, I just hit your costume.
I was about to say
yes,
Brandy.
Brandy as Cinderella. That was another character I wanted to bring
Brilliant
up.
movie.
You know, like we could play these characters whether it's on stage, on the screen, television, or anything like that. Like it's possible, and people want to see it. So these like negative comments, you're right. It's just noise.
Actually, I'd like to say my childhood was actually ruined because, you know, the queen was black, the king was white, and they had an Asian son.
That made my life,
just-
okay?
I mean,
that made my life.
It just didn't make any money. It's not a cultural touchstone at all. I mean, it didn't change anything. It's a very beloved thing. I mean, we could go watch this after the panel. You know what I mean? That's how good it was.
Yeah.
I still feel that it stands the test of time. Rest in peace, Whitney. And
Yes.
so, you know, it's just noise. Like I
Yeah.
go back to
Yeah.
it. It's just online noise.
But I do think when we're talking about like, you know, the outrage in response to the casting, I think that one of the problems with social media nowadays is that bad behavior is very rewarded. In the sense that if I were to go online right now and post some crappy doodle I did of Ariel, I can't draw, and just post some drawing I did of Ariel and be like, here's Ariel the way she's supposed to be, I would get so much traction from that because people would be engaging with it, they'd be responding to it, and that's, I see a lot of people who are very happy to jump onto whatever is the most recent thing where they're like, oh, I can be real offensive and like get some attention from this. And so I've taken up a stance. I no longer respond to these people. I just block and move on. I'm not gonna quote retweet them so like my followers can see me dunking on them. They don't get the attention. I will, like, bit by bit, we can starve these people out and like stop letting them profit off of like their crappy behavior, because like what we've seen shows that these movies are doing fine. The vast majority of people are still gonna go see Captain Marvel, or, I mean, Disney's a finely honed corporate machine. They knew what they were doing when they cast this actress.
Yeah.
They are not taking chances. They
Exactly.
picked somebody that they knew was going to excel in the role. So I'm sure Ariel's going to be just raking in buckets of money anyway. The actress is adorable.
Yes. Yes.
But there, I think, and maybe even Disney profits off the outrage machine a little bit. But I think there are
media is a thing.
more people trying to blow this up and make it bigger than it actually is than there are people who genuinely believe that.
I think
Starve the trolls.
Starve the trolls. I remember the hashtag starve the trolls. I like it. For sure. So I actually want to open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions in the audience? I saw you first and then you. Yes.
I was just curious how you felt about the representation as far as playing video games.
Oh, well, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. So she asked about the representation in video games.
Yeah,
I think don't know much about video games.
Oh, I know lots about video games. But no, if you're like overall, because overall, I think that video games have done a great job of incorporating diversity. However, I think that with online games like Apex Legends or Overwatch, they are not protecting their POC audience very well. I think that needs to be improved as these other games start to bring in more inclusion, whether it's racial inclusion or sexual identity inclusion. They need to start protecting the people that are already on their platforms with these other games. So it's great, but it can be better with stuff that's already out.
I mean, it makes me wonder about kind of getting animators who, you know, share those identities, getting you know, kind of the, and even in just live action media, that kind of pipeline of getting people, you know, skilled in those specialties, so that, you know, they can be in the room, so they can design things the way the things they need to be designed. But on top of that, it's also, I've also been reading stuff where they're saying it's somewhat a pipeline issue, but it's also a gatekeeping issue.
Yeah.
and finding out how to smash down those gates so we can, have better representation.
There's an account that I wanted to just shout out. It's Black Girl Gamers on Twitter.
BGG.
If you don't follow them, They're amazing. They have discussions about that all the time, and they're just fantastic. So shout out BGG.
And Black Nerd Problems.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Black
yeah.
Nerd Problems too.
The Cookout Board.
Yes.
Awesome.
And Cryptastic.
For females getting into these industries, how big of an impact, or maybe an anchor, do you feel that religion is for this? Because I've got a lot of cousins who ask me, why are you doing this? And every last one of them brings up the church as a reason why I should be doing something else productive with my day.
I guess it probably depends on the particular religious. My family is Catholic, and some of them are more conservative than others, and so I definitely get some concerned, is this really what the Lord wants you to be doing with your body? So I guess to kind of answer that, I think it depends on where you're coming from, because there are some churches that are more liberal and more progressive than others. But it was definitely something that I had to deal with a lot when I was getting into this. I do a lot of, a lot of my costumes are very bikini oriented, and I got a lot of flack from that from my family, particularly older female members of my family who were deeply concerned about how are you going to get married now? So yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with that question, but I also personally, I just kept doing it, and eventually they had to accept it. So, because change is slow, but it can happen. Just keep persevering, and they will see that you are happy, that you are healthy, that this is bringing you joy in your life, and they will see that it's a good thing. Just keep on.
So we're getting the cut it off thing. So go ahead, and then you've got to wrap
I was
it up.
just gonna piggyback on that and say just do it anyway, because I have the same deal. Some of my older female family members are like, "What are you doing? You're dressed like you're all evil, and you're tattooing yourself, and you're doing this." I'm like, you know what? If I have to be that one that just powers through it, and I'm the one that's constantly gonna burn in hell, whatever.
We're gonna see the crazy odds
I'm
that
gonna
all the
be
kids look up to.
So it would be wonderful to hear from each of you indie content creators that you support that you think other people should be aware of, so we can uplift them, and then maybe get them jobs in the industry.
I've got this. If everyone would take 2 seconds to go onto their cellular devices, go to Twitter and follow Quirktastic, and also hold on, Team Red. If you guys haven't seen, they've made a Samurai Champloo live action movie. If you want to say, it was beautiful, right? You guys support them. Team Red Pro and Quirktastic made something magical. So the more you watch it, the more they get to do that and uplift the indie creators that are in both of those spaces. Me. And then also the other people. But also me.
And you can go on YouTube and tell your friends to watch.
Looks amazing, just saying.
It does look amazing. As far as some other indie properties, they are also here. Tuskegee Airs.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So if you have not heard of this comic, shame on you. But also, it's incredible, and they also take the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, basically transpose it into the future with the same values. But what's incredible is that those of you who have grown up with Voltron or anything that's or Gundam Wing, basically badass teenagers doing incredible shit, they do that. And they are all African or African American, and they are wonderful, and they are diverse hues. No one didn't choose one color of brown. It was different colors of brown. So, Tuskegee Airs.
Yes. Also, Ashtray Productions. He's local, Filipino director, which I feel like is rare. and then he's here in Virginia. Yes, so follow him, Jay on Instagram.
We should have bought cards.
She also has a shout out.
Go ahead, you.
I do, yes. For my shout out, I wanted to shout out the comic Sorghum and Spear. I
love him.
Yes, by Green County Creative. And is he here?
He's not here this year.
That's so sad. Okay. He was here last year, I think. And he's pretty active on the con circuit. But it is it's a comic about a badass group of black women. It's got a very fantasy bent to it. I will say, as a costumer, the designs for all of the different characters, very cosplay friendly, very nice, something to look into. And I do believe he had Nichelle Nichols involved as a producer.
Wow. She's also a character in this comic.
You know, tying it all back to Nichelle Nichols. She was there at the beginning. She's here now.
Yes.
So that's one that I would like to recommend.
And really, really fast, I wanted to shout out, her name is Amun Ray, and she designs plus size cosplay outfits. She is amazing. She is. I'll have to look because she spells it a certain way, but I'll look it up if you want to see. But she's based out of New York. She hands make them. They are amazing. I met her. I don't know if I don't know if she was able to make it here, but she's always here at BlurredCon. Fantastic plus size cosplay, A++ style.
Monet and left foot.